Hello, this is Melissa, the insurance exam queen, and in this video, we're going to talk about the Kentucky property and casualty exam. It is one of the more difficult exams that you can take. So, Kentucky residents, I am sorry and I love you, but I'm going to help you with being able to pass your exam. Before we do that, please make sure to like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also drop a comment below if you have any questions. And let's go ahead and get started. So I'm already sharing my screen. Yes. Okay. So in my insurance exam queen study support group, which you should join if you're not already there. So you do need to have a Facebook account. But join the insurance exam queen study group. You can just go to Facebook and type that in, or if you go to my YouTube banner, there's a little button that you can click and it'll take you right there. I have added some files. So if you go to the files section, and this will eventually have a bunch of states, but we're talking about Kentucky right now. So I have the Kentucky property and casualty content outline PDF. You're going to click that open so that you can take a look at that document. It's going to download to your computer. So then you have to open it up. And what this is it's showing you what chapters, what are the concepts that are being tested on your exam. Now let's talk about why the Kentucky exam is a little bit harder than some of the other exams. Most other states will use a test provider to create the test. And those test providers have all very common questions and common outlines. And so when companies like Excel, Kaplan, 80 Bank, or whoever it is you're using to study the exam, they use those outlines and they use those concepts to make the test. Kentucky has made their own test and their own outline. So when you buy a course like Excel, Kaplan, 80 Banker, it's using a different it's using like a different outline, a different way of speaking than what you'll actually see on the Kentucky exam, because Kentucky has decided to make their own exam and they have their own testing procedures, whereas pretty much, I think the only other state that does that is California. So Kentucky is a little bit harder because they made everything themselves, but they didn't make a pre-licensing course by themselves. So you're using a pre-licensing course that is structured to other outlines, but when you take your test, you're using a Kentucky outline. So it's a little bit tricky, but I'm going to help you. Okay. I'm going to help make sure that you can pass this exam. We're going to talk about it. This is why it's a little bit difficult. So if you look at, they do have units, and this is matched up to Kaplan. I know it says 2006, but this is current. I promise. You can actually, when you go to the Kentucky website, you can see that it says updated as of, I think, May of 2021. They're still using it. So they haven't changed it in a very long time. But this is updated, and they match the units according to Kaplan for whatever reason, but it's not to say that Kaplan is better as a pre-licensing provider. They're kind of all the same. What's most important here is looking at these sections. So these are the chapters of what is on your exam. So you have principles insurance, which is 6% of the test, 3 questions. What they're saying is that there will be 3 questions that come from those topics alone. In another state like Arizona, there will be like 20 questions from these. You only have 3 questions. You need to know a lot of concepts here, and you don't know what exactly they're going to test you on, right? Like this is probably like 3 or 4 pages worth of reading, and they're asking you 3 questions. So that means you have to know a whole entire page worth of material, and they'll ask you about one little sentence of it. So you have to, but you don't know which sentence, right? They're going to test you on. So you have to know a ton of material for a very small amount of questions. The problem is that the whole test is that way. 3 questions will come from principles of insurance. 3 will come from the contract. 1 will come from all of these. And you don't know, what are they going to ask you about stock versus mutual? Are they going to ask you about the agent? We don't know, but it's going to be 1 question on the exam. This is probably like 6 pages worth of reading for only 1 question. You have the insurance transaction. This is like 3 or 4 pages at least worth of reading for only 3 questions. So this is why it's hard. This is why it is difficult. So one, I just want to send some peace and love to you guys in Kentucky, because they are asking you to read a ton of material to be prepared for just a few questions, and you don't know exactly which section those questions are going to come from. So you are required to know a lot. You have to know a lot of everything to be prepared to be able to answer this exam. And then again, homeowners, this is like 40 pages worth of reading. 40 pages worth of reading, and you've got 5 total questions. Like it sucks. Not gonna lie. In other states, these 40 pages worth of reading probably make up almost 20 questions in other states. So it's a lot easier to pinpoint what it is you need to know. In Kentucky, they can ask you so many things. So it's so hard and so difficult. But what you can do to help you is go through this exam and say, can I define risk? Risk is the chance of loss occurring. Do I know the definition of risk? Risk is the chance of loss occurring. Do I know how to manage risk? Manage risk would be what we have as the STAR, which is in my gold package. You can share the risk, you can transfer the risk, you can avoid the risk, you can retain the risk, you can reduce the risk. Do you understand what that means? Do you understand what the law of large numbers is? The law of large numbers says the more people you have to look at, the more data you have to look at, the better you can get at predicting the loss. Do you know what that means? Do you know about elements of insurability? It has to be it has to be these things. It has to be a pure risk, which is a pure risk is loss or nothing, no chance of gain, as opposed to a speculative risk, which is something more like gambling, where you could lose, but you could also win. So you want to walk yourself through this and see if you can, give yourself a good explanation of each of these to be prepared. Elements of a valid contract. Do you know what the offer is? Do you know what acceptance is? The offer is the customer submitting an application for insurance. Acceptance is the insurer accepting that application and issuing a policy. Consideration is both parties have to bring value to the other party. So the customer has to bring value to the insurer, and the insurer has to bring value to the customer. And you need to know what that value is. On the side of the customer, that value is your application and the premium you're willing to pay. And on the insured side, that insurer's side, the consideration, that value is the promise to pay your premium. So I would encourage you to actually print this off. And here's the property. And then if you scroll down, it'll take you to the casualty side. I would actually print this off and walk myself through this outline and see if I can talk about each one. And if you can't, get my gold class series. So I offer, the YouTube videos that you can watch, but I also sell longer, more in-depth class videos that will teach you the concepts. I've scrolled through this outline. So much of what is on this outline is within gold. So if you like the way that I explain and teach things, if you like the way that I simplify things and make it easy to understand, easy to memorize, you want to get my gold class series, you can get that on my website, insuranceexamqueen.com. And you can even click on state requirements and read my Kentucky recommendation because I talk more about all the chapters there. And then my gold will help you learn this material. And then if you print this out and then you're watching gold, you can, walk yourself through. Do I remember consideration? Do I remember what indemnity means? Do I remember the difference between stock versus mutual? And so if you can explain to yourself what all of these things mean, it's going to help make sure that you can retain and remember this information for the exam, because there's tons of information you have to know, and just a teeny tiny amount of questions is going to come from every chapter. So you literally have to know everything about everything in Kentucky. They are not making this easy on you. So be prepared for that. Be ready to buckle down, study what you need to study, and watch my gold videos on repeat. And if you are not happy with this, you need to become a resident of another state like Texas, which is much easier to pass that exam. Become a resident in some other state, get your license, and then move back. But Kentucky has made it hard for you. The other thing you can do is tell the Department of Insurance how hard their exam is. I mean, they might like that, because then they're like, We want to make sure you know everything, but you can also, the only place you can really give feedback for this exam is the Kentucky Department of Insurance. So that would be your two options: move to another state, become a resident, take the state there, take the exam there, or, you know, talk to your Department of Insurance, let them know that this is really hard. And get my gold and buckle down and study. We have had Kentucky people pass the exam. I've worked with them. If you really need a lot of support, you can get my platinum package, where you can talk to me directly and ask me questions directly. As part of the gold package, we do also offer live classes as well. So there's usually 2 to 3 classes that you can join each week, and working with Angela, our ultimate study buddy, on learning this information. But whether you get my gold or not, print this outline out. It's in my Facebook study group. Walk yourself through each of the definitions, see if you can describe it. And the bigger the chapter is, like, right, like if it's 5 questions, you want to know that a lot better than a section that's only like 2 questions, right? So focus on the ones that have the biggest percentage. And honestly, it's most of them are around the 3 and 6%. There are a couple that are 8 and 10%. So you want to pay attention to those. And I am sending you all the loves and all the vibes to pass this exam. I know it's a tough one, but I support you. I love you. You can do this. Listen to my mindset audios here on the YouTube channel to help get you excited. Even though it is hard, you want to be excited to study. You want to be excited to pass. You want to be excited to be an insurance agent, because it is such an amazing career. And if you can have the right positive, happy mindset going into studying, it's going to be a lot easier to learn this information, and just buckle down and get it done. You can pass this exam. Just make it easier on yourself by getting gold, printing out this outline, and doing the instructions I had in this video. So I love you all so much. Have an amazing day. And I have to hit stop record.